Hey, welcome to the Bristol Small Business Show. I'm Kevin Gammy. Today I've got Richard Comer. Now, Rich is a really interesting character. Richard has, I put him down as one of Brisbane's top 5 networkers, at least that I know. And I know several of them. You might be surprised about that. But today we're going to talk about building great strategic relationships. Okay. Building great strategic relationships is all about creating relationships that are mutually beneficial. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. Win-win.
And hopefully it's a win to the third party who's both parties' clients, but we'll get to there in another 60 seconds. But before we get into that, where did all this strategic relationship start?
Oh, Kevin, it started when cavemen came out of their caves and went hunting, didn't it? Surely it started way back then.
Look, I suspect so. In fact, I heard an interesting story about how the recruitment industry started, and we'll share that. And it was basically the guys, and really early guys, and let's think of the Dutch guys that were traveling the world on ships even before the English were. And they'd go off on voyages that wouldn't just last a day or two. They could last for 2 to 3 years. And not everybody wanted to go on a voyage for that long. And so the captains of the ships, they would go down to the wharves and do let's call it a strategic alignment partnership with the town thugs to knock some people on the head and dump them on the boat so that they would wake up when the ship was too far offshore for them to be able to swim back. Great strategic relationship.
Yes, definitely a win-win.
Now, apparently the recruitment industry has cleaned up its act since then. I do promise you that. And I believe ships' captains are no longer quite as ruthless.
No more planks, eh?
We won't quite go that far, but we're going to dispel any of that sort of stuff. But more importantly, what's your background? How did you get so involved in being excited about strategic relationships?
I started my career in hospitality, so love looking after people. I started working in the bottle-o of my stepmom's parents' pub in Daguila, west of Caboolture. I drive there every Friday and restock their bottle shop and help them run the pub. So that's where I started, and that took me to Townsville to do a traineeship. I even worked on cruise ships 2.5 years and saw 51 countries. Even lived in Nigeria for a year, Kevin. So that was an interesting 366 days of my life.
You lived in Nigeria that's the first time I've ever heard this story. That would have been very interesting.
It was. I stayed for 366 days, got my 1-year bonus, and then resigned.
Fair call too, maybe. I imagine your bonus was absolutely worth it. So tell me, what led you from that background to going, hey, I want to be a vehicle broker, and you do some various other online projects, but for that and forming strategic relationships?
My dad's a used car dealer. He always has been since I was knee-high to a grasshopper. So I've seen how to run a successful little family business, and he's always done good deals. You know, he's always been on the right side of the industry. He's never been dragged before the courts. So I learned how to do it the right way. And got out of hospitality and did real estate for a little while, but realized that I enjoy helping people, you know, a bit like the humble nurses and teachers. I'm a bit of a giver, and I think that's why I enjoyed BNI so much when I was in BNI too, is, you know, giver's gain is one of their mantras. So I know that you have to give before you're going to get. So I think doing strategic partnership well means you have to prove to the person who you want to align with that you're there to help them and their clients more than yourself. Otherwise, they won't see a benefit to joining up with you on it.
And I know that you've been hanging around our group for a little while, probably only 4 of the 6 years, maybe even 5. So I know that you've been around. You've been very helpful in your commentary a lot of the time and that sort of stuff, and sharing various posts from time to time. Now, you've got a formula about what will create a successful strategic alliance between two parties.
I do a little cheat sheet in my head that I've now put down on paper. So Yeah. Do you want me to go through those 5 steps?
Let's go through the 5 steps. So you've got 5 key steps about that. So where does it start?
It starts by knowing where your clients or your prospects play. So either before they come to you or where they go after they've been to you. So it's not just people who are out there playing before they get to you. It can be afterwards as well. So whether they're buying a product that you sell or whether they're consuming a service that you provide, it's important to find out where they play. Think of a shoe shop and a shoe repairman. You know, once you buy a pair of RMs, you may not want to take it back to the RM store. You may go to little shoe man who's outside your Coles. So they could have a strategic alliance.
Because RMs are little, even to take back to RMs, they're not cheap either. But a really cool side note here is being really well versed on exactly who your client is, because everyone is never really the right answer.
No, that's right. And you don't need one avatar. You might have, I've got 5 or 6 avatars for my clients. So as long as you drill down into each avatar, you can have as many as you want. But yeah, you have to drill down.
What he's saying when he says the word avatar, he's not talking about a big, tall, blue guy. He's actually talking about your ideal customer. Other people call it your new best friend, whatever you want to call that person who you really want more of in your client base.
Yeah, that's it.
That's your avatar. Cool. So you've got the second point.
So that's adding value. So if you can't prove to that business who you're looking to do a partnership with that you can add value to what they offer their clients, then of course they're not going to be interested. So you're looking really for a win-win-win, a happy mutual client, a happy partner, and a happy you.
Absolutely. So, knowing where they are beforehand and where they are afterwards will help start making sure that you're trying to team up with the right people so that you can extend your service ultimately.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly right. Complementary businesses.
Yeah, because the more that you can extend your service, the greater value the customer is going to get out of that strategic relationship. Well, you know, it's synergy, right? It's like why big businesses have lots of teams within their organization, so that they can all work together and extend that service that they're offering to a particular customer, so that the customer can get better value out of it. And that's what you're saying, is there has to be, from the two of you working together, an even greater value add, so that the customer is more likely to enjoy the combination of the two of you as opposed to working with each of you individually.
Absolutely. If you can show them that you're going to make them look good to their client, I'll give you an example. A finance broker referring someone to me. If they say, congrats, you're approved for 50 grand, go shopping, they're going to end up in front of a dealership and may not have a good buying experience. And they may try and pinch their finance. But the finance broker knows if they give them to me, I will not pinch their finance, but I'll do a ripper deal on the car, make them look good, and make the client be happy.
Absolutely. So one, know who your client is, know where they're going before you and where they're going after you, so you can start looking for strategic alliances, and then making sure that collectively you're adding even greater value to the end client. What's step 3?
Trust. They have to know that they can trust you enough to give you their client's details, to know that you're going to follow the same sort of mantra that they do and treat their clients the same sort of way.
And here's where a lot of, I imagine a lot of strategic alliances fall by the wayside, is that a lot of people are reaching out. They're either new in business or they're new in town or they're looking for a new market, and all of a sudden they're reaching out going, hey, I can help you, but you don't have the runs on the board yet.
Yeah, correct. So often a way you can get over that is by, for example, I do supply finance, but whenever I'm talking to a new finance broker, one of the first things I say is that is let them know that. I'm just very upfront and say, hey, I do finance, but I would never bite the hand that feeds me. I'm here to get you more business and look after your clients so that we can do business together and everyone's happy. Be upfront and open. Absolutely.
The more transparent you are in those sort of things is absolutely going to help. But also time in the market is sometimes what your client may need. I'm going to go for a little aside here. There's a few different industries that are really risk averse, hey?
Yes.
Now, thinking of accountants and lawyers are the first two that I automatically think, like, these are really analytical people, and I know lovely people, absolutely, and they help their clients and they're very generous for them and they do a wonderful job for their clients. Very, very challenging to try and create strategic alliances with.
Can be. I do have quite a few accountants who do refer their clients to me because they know.
That didn't happen overnight, did it?
No, it won't happen overnight, but it will happen. You just got to work on it.
And that was my point. Like, this isn't a quick fix, the world's going to be happy tomorrow type solution. Yeah. This is something that you have to strategically put into your marketing plan, that I want to form relationships with this type of organization, and I'm going to work on a variety until I find a couple that are right. And don't try and be friends with the entire industry, because you won't be able to handle all the work anyway.
No, that's right. Absolutely. You can't be all things to all people. Like you said, you have to have avatars or niche clients and demographics for a reason, because you can't be all things to all people.
Absolutely. And that's about, like, the trust. The other side of trust is risk.
Yes, correct.
Okay, and that's where, when we were talking earlier, you put down trust, and I've immediately written risk, which kind of says something probably a little bit awkward about me. But we won't talk about that. We'll focus on this. But it really is something you need to think about when you're reaching out to who could prospectively be the right strategic partner for you. Is that it needs to be someone that you feel you can trust implicitly, and that you feel can engender trust of you implicitly, because if there is those vague grey areas, then they're likely to walk away before it starts.
Absolutely. And my example there is a carpenter and a tiler. If someone's going to take on a carpenter, they need to know that they can trust their subbies. So you've got to have a good tiler to be able to say, hey, he's my man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what about the next one?
That would be competitive advantage. So there's no point putting a package together and a plan if you can't help demonstrate to the business you want to team up with that they will, once they align with you, have an advantage over their competition. So there has to be a reason for them to want to do it.
Cool. So give me an example of that.
Accountants and financial planners. So as you said, accountants are often thought of as a bean counter. They just work the numbers. It is very dry. Some people might think it's not their cup of tea. But if you can be an accountant who works with financial planners, insurance brokers, and other complementary businesses, then that helps people realize, wow, this guy or girl is an expert in their field. They have lots of people they can trust. Then that goes to show that, there's a competitive advantage there, because if he's my accountant, he's going to put me on to lots of other good people when I need them.
And it's not just for them. This is also about them for you, showing that, why you? And the more you can answer the why you question, the more likely they are to want to form those strategic relationships.
Absolutely. So it goes back to Simon Sinek. If you know what your people don't care about your what, they relate more with your why. So if you're strong on that, they can see that there's going to be a similar value and a similar mission towards looking after their clients.
Absolutely. So I like that. So it is really about those common values that we come into. Values are stuff that's important to you, right?
Yeah.
If we're moving away from coachy type conversation and talking about values, I talk more about, hey, what's important to you? What is it that drives you and your sense of purpose? Because if you can then team up with other people who have that same, if they're on a similar mission to yourself.
Absolutely.
Everybody's journey is different, so everybody's mission is slightly different, but if they're on a similar mission and they feel that they're parallel, then they're going to be 100% on board.
Absolutely. And a business might buy something from a business, but it is always people dealing with people, whether it's face-to-face, phone calls, emails, it's still a person dealing with a person. So you have to be able to get on with them and like them before you're going to be willing to trust them and let them show you there is a competitive advantage there somewhere.
Absolutely. No, I do like that. So competitive advantage, making sure that together you can really conquer, that you have something that can help them extend what they have, that you're lowering their risk while you're building trust with them, adding value not just to them, but to the process and to their client,
Yeah.
because you're in the same vertical market, like you're part of the same vertical journey, as opposed to a horizontal competitor.
Yeah, correct.
And the last one.
The last one is working out whether the dollar value that they earn from each transaction is greater than yours, and if there is to be some compensation, or if it's just a value add. So, because I can relate to me, if a finance broker refers someone to me, they'll make more money on their finance commission than I will on my brokerage fee. So they don't seek any money out of me for a deal. They just know that I've kept their client happy and in bed, and that no one's pinched their finance deal. But if it's a similar transaction value, there's not going to be an exchange of money. But if there's a big transaction value, say a real estate agent making $20,000 commission versus an insurance broker making $800, maybe there'll be a kickback to the insurance broker.
Absolutely. So if the value exchange is similar, there's really no need for be talking about affiliate programs and blah, 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 blah. But when it is lopsided, then that's when an affiliate program will work really well to incentivize the person who's going to make the most out of it.
Correct. Because there's still going to be volume there to make it worthwhile.
Absolutely. So there's the 5 points. So, so if we're going backwards to look at, hey, is there an equal transactional relationship? And if not, look for compensation for one side or the other, making sure that collectively that you're offering that competitive advantage by teaming up with you for your partner.
Yep.
Neutralizing and eliminating risk by joining together as you build trust together, and as you're positioning yourself there, making sure you're adding value to their client.
Absolutely.
Who's also going to be your client. And greater value than either could have added individually. That's a really cool point. If you can find that, then you're really onto a winner. And that's because they're working with this other party either before they come to you or immediately after they've seen you.
Absolutely. Correct. So I refer a lot of business onto insurance brokers because they come after me.
Absolutely. And they're related.
Yep. Absolutely.
That's the other thing.
So they get it.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, is that it works really well. Strategic partnerships will work really well if the transaction can be related, that it's the natural very next or very before step, so that they can see that common good rather than you're both just targeting the same audience.
Correct. And to quickly go back to the last point of the monetary transaction, I recently met with an insurance broker who said, "Oh, Richard, I want to sign you up to our corporate referral program, and every deal you give us, you'll make money." I'm like, I don't want any. I just want to know that when I refer them to you, you're going to give them the right insurance. It's going to cover them if they crash their car, and I then need to replace it for them. You'll be getting it funded. So I said, I'd rather just know you're looking after them, and I can say to them, I don't make any money out of this. I'm just giving you a deal.
Absolutely, and that's there's great strength in that, but we don't always have to have that. Sometimes the right thing sometimes if there is a financial deal, sometimes it is, hey, look, if you go to these guys, hey, yeah, it is going to help fund. There's nothing evil about that. You're being absolutely transparent. So you shouldn't be scared of affiliate programs, as long as you're recommending something of quality.
Absolutely,
and that's the most important thing. Any final words, Richard?
I would think don't be scared to step out of your comfort zone when looking to start a partnership with someone. You would be surprised how happy to do partnerships or to do business people can be if you just ask. You may see someone who's super well established and super well known in their industry, and you might think, oh, I think I could do really well with a strategic alliance with them, but I'm a bit scared because they're such a big name. you'd be surprised how happy they are to throw you under their arm and mentor you and make something that works.
Absolutely. Yeah. So don't be scared. In fact, I've quite often found that people who are very successful are quite often very generous with their time and their advice and their approach to business. They're excited to be able to help someone. So don't be scared about reaching out. Offer to buy them lunch when you're allowed to do that. Well, you're allowed to do that again now, finally.
Yeah. Send them an e-voucher to buy lunch on their own in the park.
Not quite as much fun and won't be things. So always great when you can catch up with people. Richard, I've really enjoyed catching up with you today. Thanks for having this chat. We will talk more about the other stuff a little bit later on, as I did say. So the other stuff being the vehicle broking stuff, just so people don't think that we're talking about them when we get off here, because we're not. Thanks very much for watching. Richard, great talking to you. There's a nice clear 5 steps. I look forward to doing that with some helping some people out in that way. Thanks very much.